Hi everyone, it's Toni back again. Welcome back to my channel. So it's been a few days since my last book review, but today I'm back and I'm excited to talk to you about one of my favorite authors of all time, Toni Morrison. In today's video, I'm going to be reviewing one of my favorite books from Toni Morrison, which is called Sula. As per usual, I'm going to read you a bit about the plot, then I'm going to tell you what I liked about the book, what I didn't like about the book, if anything, and my favorite characters, and also give you my rating for the book at the end of the video. So here we go. As young girls, Nell and Sula shared each other's secrets and dreams in the poor black Midwest of their childhood. Then Sula ran away to live her dreams and Nell got married. 10 years later, Sula returns and no one, least of all Nell, trusts her. Sula is a story of fear. The fear that traps us, justifying itself through perpetual myth and legend. Cast as a witch by the people who resent her strength, Sula is a woman of uncompromising power, a wayward force who challenges the smallest of a world that tries to hold her down. Now, that actually really aptly describes the book, but it doesn't really tell you much about the story within the book. And the story is complicated and heart-wrenching and, you know, something that every woman, especially every woman living in the Western world or every woman living in an oppressive society in which she's trying to blossom to be more than the confines that the society puts her in, can identify with. I absolutely love this book for that. So, okay, Nell and Sula live in this town called The Bottom. And The Bottom is like a free town. And it's like the first or of very, very few independent black towns in the Midwest. And basically The Bottom is the result of, I think there was the guy that founded The Bottom was like a former slave, and his master gave him like this really cruddy piece of land that nobody wanted, thought couldn't be farmed, much couldn't come out of it, and just gave it to the slave as a reward. And the slave managed to build a community from that town. And as time progresses, the town becomes more attractive, and because the book kind of goes through a chronicle over time. So it starts off in the early 20th century, and then it takes you to like the late 60s, around that time, where developers want to come in and gentrify the town and kind of push out the original black inhabitants. But that's really kind of like a by of the story. The main story is about the relationship between Nell and Sula and what their friendship means to the two of them and how it's impacted the lives around them. So when Nell and Sula are growing up as young women, they are best friends. They do everything together. They live in each other's pockets. They go everywhere together. And then you kind of sort of start to think, like, are they kind of lovers? Are they just friends? Because their friendship is really complex and it's really deep, and it makes you think, actually, is there a little bit more going on here than just a friendship? And because they come from two different sides of the track, so to speak, because Nell comes from this kind of well-to-do, upwardly mobile family, while Sula comes from like this, I wouldn't say lower class, but they're just not as trying to come up and, perpetuate this uppity attitude that Nell's family is trying to perpetuate. So there's a lot more free-spiritedness going on. And then Sula's mom or grandmother is like, she's like just a really complicated character. She's like, I don't know if she's a herbalist or something like that, basically. So, people go to her when they absolutely have to, but they don't want to admit that they need the help of someone like that. So Sula kind of, you know, sees through the bullshit of everybody in the town that kind of pretends to live a certain kind of way, but they're like completely different. And she lives a life where she's going to be free-spirited, she's not going to be pretentious, and she's just going to speak truly to herself. So that is very attractive to Nell and their dynamic in their relationship, and it makes Sula a very endearing, attractive kind of character. And, you know, as they're growing along and, you know, having a friendship, tragedy strikes and something happens. They're playing with this younger boy that they know called Chicken Little. And they have an accident and it leads to the death of Chicken Little. And nobody knows why this little boy died except Nell and Sula. And that basically... that secret, that terrible secret, is the beginning of the end of their friendship. Is what kind of drives a permanent fracture into their friendship. It taints the town, and Nell kind of goes off and ignores Sula and gets married and, you know, lives a completely different life. And Sula, you know, having you know, to deal with the death of Chicken Little and having lost her best friend, kind of just thought, sod it, and leaves town. And when Sula comes back to the town 10 years later, everything changes. The town has gone from this very sleepy, sedate town where life is kind of slowly being leached out of it. And Sula comes back and reignites everything and kind of lights a fire under everybody in the town. And initially they reject her, but then slowly but surely she kind of assumes the role that her grandmother used to have in the town. And slowly but surely the town kind of springs back to life. And then there's this kind of like jealousy and resentment that Nell harbors for Sula because of this. And Sula also harbors a jealousy and resentment for Nell because she feels kind of abandoned by Nell. And anyway, so there are other things that happen in the book that are a lot more complex and a lot more interesting. And it really is like a saga, like a drama of a book, very rich drama. And of all the Toni Morrison books, this is one of my favorites because I loved Sula. I love the strength of the character. You know, themes of colorism are kind of tackled on a base level, and Sula's this confident, dark-skinned, beautiful, enigmatic, free-spirited character. And Nell is also very beautiful, but she's very domesticated and sedate and Stepford housewife-esque before that became a thing, in her nature. And just the dynamic between the two of them and the complexity of their relationships, and how the town is pretty much centered around that relationship and what comes from it, is so interesting. I encourage anybody to pick up the book. I mean, as per usual, my favorite character, well, I normally have like three, but my favorite character absolutely was Sula. I mean, I loved her. And I would give this book a 4.2 out of 5 because it was so rich. It was so complicated. It was such a roller coaster of emotion. And it was typical, undisappointing, wonderful Toni Morrison. And it was a history lesson in African-American history and culture and that kind of thing. So because of that, I would rate this book a 4.2. So please, as per usual, let me know your thoughts. Have you read this book? Are you going to pick it up because I recommended it? If you've picked it up, what did you think? Please leave your comments down below. As per usual, please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And until next time, bye.